Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com. All of the traditional evidence for global warming is collapsing. I'll be talking about this a lot in the next few weeks. So journalists and academics have turned their attention to misinterpreting individual weather events. They describe a few months of dry weather as being the worst megadrought in 1,200 years. Scientific American says the ongoing megadrought puts Arizona and the rest of the West in uncharted waters. But what's really going on in Arizona and much of the West is that they're flooded. 3 weeks ago, northern Arizona was in a major flood fight, and it's only gotten worse since then. Much of Arizona is currently experiencing a flood warning, and there are epic amounts of rain in the forecast. Some parts of Arizona are forecast to receive almost 8 inches of rain over the next 10 days. The same story is true in New Mexico, where the press claims the Rio Grande River has dried up. Smithsonian Magazine says the Rio Grande has run dry in Albuquerque after years of drought in the Southwest. But according to the United States Geologic Survey, stream flow in the Rio Grande is at an all-time high for this day of year. This is the case just south of Albuquerque and just north of Albuquerque. What actually happened was there was a few hours when the water in one stretch of the Rio Grande was mostly being diverted into irrigation ditches. So the press made this up into some fake news about climate. Arizona is also seeing record stream flows. I used to live near the Verde River in Clarkdale, Arizona, and stream flow there is at a record high for this day of year. Sabino Creek at Tucson is also at a record high for this day of year. Stream flow in the Santa Cruz River in southeast Arizona is at an all-time high for this day of year. Stream flow in the Mimbres River in southwest New Mexico is at an all-time high for this day of year. This is what Scientific American calls the worst megadrought in 1,200 years. The reality is that over the past 1,200 years, the western U.S. has had very severe droughts which lasted more than 2 centuries. The 20th century was wetter than normal in California and the rest of the West. The Los Angeles Times reported on this in 1994 and said this information has been known since 1922. So climatologists have known for a century that the West is prone to century-long droughts. Water levels in many of the lakes in the Sierra Nevada mountains were reduced by up to 60 feet. If Scientific American actually had any interest in science, they would have known this and wouldn't have published this nonsense. And here's one more piece of fake news which I'm going to discuss in this video. National Geographic: thunderstorms are moving east with climate change. But back in the real world, Arizona is getting thunderstorms almost every single day this month. All of the lightning strikes you're seeing in this image are a typical summer afternoon in the southwestern United States. I used to live in Flagstaff and West Sedona. This sort of thunderstorm activity goes on all the time. As I mentioned earlier, all of the traditional global warming evidence is collapsing, so the press is getting increasingly desperate with their scams. In a few days, Toto is going to show how the Arctic melting scam has completely collapsed. You can visit Toto, Kyrie, Caesar, Toki, and Upala on the web at RealClimateScience.com.